I'm going to show you my tank. You obviously don't need to go as big or as expensive as I went because this is not my first tank. A good starting point for a Bimac octopus, which is the same type of octopus that Birdie and Louie are, is about 55 gallons. A 55-gallon tank, stand and sump will cost about $1,500 brand new. Or you can go the used route. It'll be a lot cheaper, but you have to make sure the person who had it first kind of knew what they were doing. The tank isn't leaking, none of the wood is rotting, and that the person never used copper in the tank before. This is the most important part because any type of metals in the tank, especially copper, is actually very toxic to the octopus and will kill them right away. After you have your tank, stand, and sump, all the things you need for filtration are down here. The most important part of your tank's filtration is going to be your protein skimmer. Besides doing its normal job of removing all the uneaten food and all the waste that's in the water, it's also essential for when the octopus inks. If the ink stays in the water too long, and if it's a lot of ink, the ink itself can actually cake on or just solidify onto the gills of the octopus and actually suffocate it. You really don't want to skimp out on the protein skimmer because it's very essential to making sure your octopus is safe. For a 55-gallon tank, you're going to need something in the $250 range, but I recommend going bigger to have more capacity to handle everything that could happen, and that's going to be about $300 to $400. And all of this is brand new equipment. You could also get it used for much cheaper. Number 2, you need a dual media reactor. This is not absolutely necessary, but this is just my preference. For the actual media reactor, you can get a kit, which is the 2 canisters, the hoses, and the pump for about $100 to $120. The media itself isn't that expensive, so the cost there is negligible, but this is the best way to make sure that you're cleaning your tank and the water is being forced through the media. So after you run all the water through the protein skimmer and through the media reactor, you're gonna need a pump to bring the water back up into the actual tank. Now this is also very variable. I like to use a pump called the DC pump, which is variable speed, and you can actually control the flow per hour that it's bringing the water up and the rate that it's bringing the water back up into the tank. You don't have to go that route and you can just get a standard pump. It's completely up to you, but you're gonna be in the range of $100 to $150 all the way up to $600 to $700 if you decide to go with one of the more well-known brands. Now after you have your tank, stand, sump, and all of your filtration equipment in place, you obviously now need water to fill your tank. Now this isn't normal freshwater. There are no known freshwater octopuses, so the water has to be salt water. Unfortunately, you kind of have to make your own unless you want to go buy 5-gallon jugs of salt water. To make your water, you're going to need water, which can be just plain old tap water, and you can add a conditioner to take out all the chlorines and the chloramines and the heavy metals. Or my preference is getting a reverse osmosis filter, which basically sterilizes the water, makes it absolutely neutral, and it has a lot of benefits to using that type of water versus tap water. You can have something as simple as a filter that you just screw onto the faucet, which is what I use. And this is called the RO Buddy, and it runs you about $100. Salt for about 50 gallons of water will cost you about $30. I use a brand called Instant Ocean Salt. It's been around a really long time, and it's actually the cheapest out of all the brands and very easy to find. The next thing you need for your pet octopus is sand. You need about 1 to 2 pounds per gallon because they need sand to actually dig into and do what they do with. And that's gonna run you about $30 to $40 for 20 pounds. So for a 55-gallon tank, you'd need about 55 pounds of sand, which would probably run you around 50 bucks, more or less. Next, you need rock. You already know that I prefer live rock, which is the more expensive variety. Live rock is going to be about closer to $30, and the dry manufactured rock is going to be closer to $5 per pound of rock. Personally, based on my experience and what I've been through in the hobby, prefer live rock. So if you can, I definitely recommend starting with live rock. So this is a canopy. You absolutely do not need this, but this just keeps everything contained and it gives it a nice, neat look. But next up, you need lights. So for a tank like this, because I have corals and I have other live things other than the octopus, I went with more expensive lights. I have Ecotech Radions, which are gonna run you about $500 for the XR15, and I have 2 of those. But for an octopus, just an octopus without any coral, you really don't need those lights, and you can go the cheaper route and get lights for about $150. Everybody knows octopuses are escape artists. They can squeeze through the tiniest openings and they cause a lot of problems in that sense. So you definitely need a very good, heavy, sturdy lid. I use these polycarbonate sheets, and for a 24-inch by 24-inch sheet, that's about 1/4 of an inch thick, you can get it for about $40 to $50 on Amazon. Depending on the size of your tank, you might need to spend a little bit more or a little bit less if you have a smaller tank. Next up, to clean the inside of your tank, you're gonna need something like a magnet cleaner. You obviously can stick your hand in the tank for free and scrub the glass, but that's messy and it's very involved. So I definitely recommend getting something like this magnet cleaner, which runs anywhere from $30 to $40 all the way to $150, depending on the brand and depending on the features that you have. I have this one, and it's actually dual-sided, so I can scrape the glass with like a sponge type thing, or I can scrape the glass with a razor on the other side. You're also going to need a couple of miscellaneous things to octo-proof the tank and just finish things off. Maybe some vinyl mesh, some rubber foam. So I would account to spend about another $200 to $250 at your favorite home improvement store. For the grand total, it is actually this. And this is, again, a rough estimate. You can go a lot cheaper if you go used. You can go a lot more expensive if you buy all the high-end, top-of-the-line equipment. Send me some pictures of your octopus tanks. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and always follow for more content.